Hello, hello. Getting back on, ready to roll. Thursday night lives. Here we go. Y'all ready to roll? Making sure all set up so I can see everybody's comments. Good, here to go. How's everybody doing tonight? Right. Sweet. I don't know if anybody had a chance. So we got off of the webinar. So Lisa, Stronger Than Before, she just finished up her webinar on co-parenting with a toxic ex. Super, super awesome. It was really good. There's a lot of good information on there. Some great people on there kind of communicating their style, their versions, some great court advice, like a lot of different stuff like that. So just got off that. That was super helpful, super awesome. And then getting everything set up here. How's everybody doing? Netherlands hopping in here. Good to see you. Sweet, sweet. All over the place. Yeah, I talked to a guy this morning from Sweden. So it was like, when I talked to him at like 6 in the morning, I think it was like 12 o'clock. It was like noon there. It's pretty crazy, like all over the place. All right. Just get running. Ohio. Thank you guys so much. Hello, hello. Good to see you guys. All right. How's everybody's week been? So we had just got off a great webinar. Lisa Sunny, she had the Stronger Than Before webinar. It was really good, really awesome. Had an awesome live. If you didn't catch it, 1 night ago with mental illness on my channel. And then we also had Ro and I was like Trade join us, which was really cool. So we had a great time. It was 4 of us on. We had a super awesome time this past Wednesday, yesterday. If you didn't get a chance to see that, check out my YouTube. They got some awesome perspectives from their side of everything too. So it's super awesome. You've helped me understand so many things. Awesome. It's good to hear. Kentucky and Florida. How do you do that? Like, you in 2 places at once? Like all over the place, Kentucky and Florida. Ohio. Still no contact. Good. Let's keep it that way. Right? No contact for. Awesome. Super glad to hear that. Awesome. All right. What do we want to talk about tonight? But what else want to about? Hello from Toronto, Indiana, small town. 8 months, no contact. Super awesome. For those of you guys who have been no contact, throw it in there. Let's get some dates, some times. How long? So 8 months. Got someone over here with over a month. 8 months. Can I get a year? Anybody have a year? 28 days, no contact. Awesome. 2 months, no contact. 3 days. Keep it up. For those of you just starting off of it, you want the good news or the bad news? The good news is it gets better. Bad news is it gets harder before it gets better. Stay the course. Stay the course. A lot of people don't tell you that it's going to get harder. A lot of people are like, get no contact because it helps. It does. It does. It does. You hear me on that. But it gets harder. You start to doubt yourself. You start to wonder what's actually going on. A lot of times there's still a lot of stuff going on there. Why is this not? One of my browsers is not updating, guys. Give me 1 second here. Just going to close these out. Crash on me. Looks like that closed. My TikTok is not loading correctly. Four years, no contact. 2 months. 2 months, 6 months, 2 months tomorrow, 3 months, 3 years, and it's still hard. Trina, let's work with you. Let's get past that. Not that you're going to get over it, but to work through it. 3 months, 4 years. No contact includes no looking at social media, etc. Yes, it does. So might have kicked a couple of people out on the running there. 4 years, no contact. 2 months. Guys, it's awesome. That's awesome. What's crazy is when you're able to start taking those 4 months, 5 months, when you're able to start taking charge, when you're able to start taking your power back and saying like, hey, you're no longer going to control me. That's really what it comes down to. It's really what it comes down to when you're talking about narcissism, when you're talking about that person trying to control you. And when you go no contact, you're saying no more, like no more of the control. It's true. Yeah. 4 months, 4 months, another 2 months. You're taking back control. You're taking back control of yourself and everything that's going on. You're saying, hey, you're no longer going to control me. And when you take that power away from the narcissist, that's when you win. That's when you win against the narcissist. And people are like, oh, what about their karma? What about all that stuff? Like at the end of the day, like how is that going to help you grow? How's it going to help you change? How is that going to help you to rise above and to be a better person on a day-to-day basis? I am on YouTube too. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and Facebook, and I guess Twitter. I don't even know my Twitter. It's fine. No contact is very key. No contact with kids is super hard. I totally get that. A lot of times, no contact with kids is looking for the third party, is, you know, if you're going through the whole lawyer system, the mediation, all that kind of stuff, like not having that contact is huge. A lot of times people do that through email. Like they'll try to do it as many different ways. We just got off a webinar of co-parenting with your toxic ex. I have the link in my bio. You can go to Lisa Sunny, Stronger Than Before. You'll be able to get that. It should be up here. The replay should be up within the next day or two. That way you can actually see. But a lot of really good content on there. Some of the apps that people use. One of the apps that really got talked about a lot in that webinar was the Talking Parents app, to try to be able to keep that just so there's like a baseline of where all the communication goes. TikTok is just not working for me today. Sorry. All the communication goes, and that helps so much, like in the courtroom, in the court system. I think one of the biggest takeaways I had is like whenever they're talking about the court system and talking about like interacting inside the court, is make sure they don't like control your action, because that's what the narcissists will try to do. That's what the attorneys will try to do. All that kind of stuff. They'll always try to get you to react, to get a reaction out of you, and like that's so key to not. Doesn't mean you have to go in there and be completely like stone cold silent and not have any interaction. Okay, because they want to see that you actually have, you know, emotions and feelings and things like that. All right. I'm shutting down some of my extra stuff because for some reason my TikTok is not producing the comments. They're coming in really slow. Sorry, guys. Trying to catch up here. Normally it doesn't have this big of an issue, but for some reason tonight it's struggling. It's been a little warm out today, so I think the computer just doesn't want to work today. It's like I'm done. I'm tired. We go. It finally loaded. All right, let's get to live up. Technical difficulties on my end. Sorry. How long to prove if a narc? How long do you suggest to give a narc to prove that he isn't just love bombing? Is that person being honest? Is that person being vulnerable? How is that person changing? And when it comes down to it, it needs to be a lot more than just getting through the love bombing phase. It's how is that actually applying on like a day-to-day basis? How are they showing up? It's like never this slow. Sorry, guys. I don't know why it's not connecting today. All right, so we'll just see what's on some of the others. Does a narc know they are in Newark and know what they're doing? Does a narc know they're a narc? Probably. And know what they're doing. So I think a lot of times there's an idea that at the very, very least, that a narcissist has an idea of, there we go, we're finally up and running on TikTok. Sorry, could not see the comments for like the longest time, TikTok. So love y'all, but it just took a while. I think at the very least, a narcissist knows that there's something different, that there's something off, that there's something weird, because they know the things that they're doing are not acceptable in society, that are not acceptable for other people, but only to abuse those certain people. So I think there's always an aspect that they have an idea at the very, very least. Okay. You're literally driving from Idaho to Florida the last few days, leaving the narcissist. That's awesome that you're getting free. It's awesome. Where are we at? Where are we at? What if I tell him he's a narcissist? How will he react? He'll deny it, and then he'll probably look up narcissism, turn around, and put it back on you. Living with 2 narcs and moving in 2 months. They hate that, of course. That's awesome. Get out of there. My narcissist is strange, wants me to be happy with someone else and apologize, and is aware of their action. Interesting. I'll be very interested to see when you actually get with someone else or go on a date to see how that transpires. Because a lot of times that him saying wants to be happy with someone else won't happen once you actually get with someone else. My ex wants to be friends. There is no friendship with a narcissist. There's only one more game, one more time around. They want to be friends, they can get back in your life so they can control you. 2 years broken up. Now he has new supply. It's been difficult to co-parent with our 14-year-old son. Yeah, absolutely. Check out the link in my bio. It'll be coming up tomorrow, I think, or the next day. But we'll have the webinar that just happened tonight with co-parenting with toxic ex. It was really good. Will my ex, older narcissist, ever leave me alone? Probably not. Make sure you close the door so they can't get back through. How do narcs feel? Are you empty? Are they super anxious? What does it really feel like? It feels pretty empty. I would say not necessarily anxious. You don't really see a lot of narcissists with like anxiety or things like that. They compartmentalize, they kind of shift it off. They're always looking for the next thing, the next high, the next person, whatever it might be. What happens when I reject the hoover? You win. That's it. You win. Maybe it might make them crazy. It might make them obsess a little bit more. It might make them, do whatever. But when you reject the hoover, you win. But the thing is, you shouldn't get the hoover because you should be no contact already. Okay? No contact is key to working on your healing, to working on your growth. What was the best way to heal? What's the best way to heal from trauma from a narc? Focus on the truth and rewire your mind to focus on what's actually real, what's actually true. 50-50 time with my ex who is a narc. How do I keep my kids safe? If there's a lack of safety on the other side, you might have to go legal routes. But as far as like keeping them safe, even from an emotional standpoint, means that you're going to have to parallel parent. You're going to have to be the parent that comes in and helps them out emotionally, helps them understand what's actually going on. Doesn't mean you have to trauma dump. Doesn't mean you have to shame the other person, but you do have to come into the situation and be like, hey, this is what's going on. Like, I have feelings. Like, this is, I have thoughts, all this kind of stuff. But like, here's how we handle your emotions. Here's how we walk through. Like, making a safe place for your kids is absolutely crucial in the middle of that. Why do narcissists call you names when they can no longer control you? Because they're upset that they can no longer control you. How much of what they say is actually truth? Very little. Common for them to tell demeaning jokes and then imply you don't understand their humor. Yeah, because that's testing your boundary. That's a good question. Like saying a joke and then saying like you don't get their humor, like that's testing your boundaries. That's seeing how much abuse you're going to put up with. And so the more they kind of test that, the more they're like, hey, like, let me do this demeaning joke and see how they react. Oh, they didn't react that much? That means they can tolerate more. A lot of times demeaning jokes like that are literally meant to test the waters to see what you're going to be able to put up with. How do you know if they'll hoover or not? You don't. Typically, they normally do hoover, so the best form of contact is make sure you go no contact so they can't hoover. Why do narcissists call you names and say they never meant to hurt you? That's like the cognitive dissonance. So it's like where they want to tell you one thing, and then they tell you another to like mess with your head. It like binds you to them. They get mad, and then they realize, wait a second, if I get too mad, then they might leave, so let me pull them back. What do I say to ladies that my ex? What do I say to the ladies that my ex is cheating with when they come to me? The truth. Why are you doing this since you're a narcissist? Is this a supply? No disrespect, just curious. Yeah, no, absolutely. So for me, part of my journey is becoming honest and working on my vulnerability just as a whole. And so I knew that I had to do that by living out what I believe is the correct way to do it. And that goes back with what I went through with the Warrior Challenge and with Wake Up Warrior. And so the Warrior Code is to live real, raw, relevant, to produce results. And for me, like, I really wanted to latch on to being real, raw, and relevant in the society and what's going on. So for me, it was getting honest of who I am, getting honest of the shit I've done. And that meant being honest with my wife, being honest with my family, being honest with my therapist, and then taking it further and being like, hey, this is not just what I want to live in this bubble. This is who I want to be. Because knowing, like, hey, if I'm running towards this, if I'm running towards this with honesty and vulnerability, which sucks, mind you, like, I do not like vulnerability, but if I'm running towards this with this concept, like, that's where I'm going to see true growth. That's where I'm going to see true change when I'm trying to work on this. But yeah, supply online it for me goes kind of lame compared. Like, all of my supply was like physical, like, interactions. Or, like, I should say, like, intimate interactions, whether that's through, like, texting, phone calls, or, like, actual relationships, but not necessarily just online stuff. So I tell him that he's a narcissist and that he's a liar and cheat. I think I missed the top part of that. My bad. He fights me about no contact, so I'm gray rocking. So unless you have kids, like, there's no fight in the no contact. Like, there doesn't have to be a fight. That's your way. Does it break no contact if they get a flying monkey to contact you? So if you're thinking like, hey, like, I broke contact because I talked to a flying monkey, I would say no. Like, don't beat yourself up about that. But I would say, like, focus on, like, hey, this person is a flying monkey, so they're no longer in the picture either. Like, go ahead and block them too. But you're not at fault for that. Are narcs capable of loving another person? What does love mean to them when they use that word? So love for them is typically a manipulation to keep that other person there. As far as being capable of loving another person, to be able to do that, they have to kind of remove their own, like, mask to be able to do that. And to be able to be fully loved is to be fully known. And for a narcissist, they're not going to ever let you fully know anything about them. And so they're unwilling to put, like, someone else's needs above their own. A gray rocking is the idea where you become very uninterested to the narcissist. You answer in, very small, concise sentences, and you don't lead them on, and you don't give them any type of reaction. In the webinar that they just had about co-parenting with a toxic ex, they said in the courtroom, they actually don't like to see when people have been doing gray rocking. So it's brand new. I learned just tonight. One of the things they were saying is because, like, gray rocking gives the impression that there's also toxicity on the other side, because you don't always see both, like, the whole picture of everything that's happening. So when someone sees gray rock, like, in the courtroom, they're like, wait a second, like, this doesn't seem to add up. So I'd be really careful about that. There's a new method that they brought up. It's called the BIFF method, BIFF, and I do not remember what it was. I do not remember what it was. I have to look it up and actually see. But that was actually recommended by one of the licensed counselors that was in there. We'll have to look it up so we can see. There we go. Found it. BIFF stands for brief, informative, friendly, and firm. So that's brand new to me. You guys are learning brand new stuff. Brand new stuff here. So brief, informative, friendly, and firm. So, like, the reason why, like, they want to see this a lot of times in the courtroom is they want to be able to see this so they can see, like, hey, you're engaging on all the levels you're supposed to engage, and there's not any toxicity from your side. So again, if you're just tuning in, or if you've been with me for a while, like, this is brand new information. I'm not trying to, like, go back on anything I've said, but I'm just saying, like, hey, this is stuff I was learning tonight on the webinar. So it's the BIFF method: brief, informative, friendly, and firm. Like, that helps a lot more, like, in the court scenario. So just something to think through and something to think on that. Okay. But yeah, so that was brand new. So I was excited to be able to share that, even though I forgot it. I'm like, what is it? Yep. Brief, informative, friendly, firm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's hard to do. Like, who wants to be friendly to the narcissist? Like, they've been an asshole to you, But, like, making sure that you do this, you do your part so that no one else can say anything bad about what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're putting out there. And in the court, like, that holds up. Does that make sense? He's asking me if I think he's a narc because his best friend, who is a doctor, told him. What do I do? That case, if he's asking you, like, I don't know, go ahead and validate it. Go ahead and say, like, hey, yeah, I mean, this is what I see. Or ask them, like, why do you think you're a narc? Or what attributes do you think? Like, make them kind of do the research. How many cycles do they hoover and discard before they leave you and move on? They'll keep doing the cycles until there's nothing left to hoover. So, like, if they keep hoovering and you keep interacting, then they're going to always do it. Like, it's never going to stop. We don't have closure. I don't know that my ex has NPD or not, but somehow have traits. Do you guys think to talk with her friends about why she's lying to me from the beginning and if that's a good idea? If it's her friends, then no, I wouldn't say it's a good idea because they're probably turned into flying monkeys at that point. You're not going to get, you're not going to get closure from the narcissist. Like, everybody needs to hear this. Like, closure is not going to happen from the narcissist, because when you're looking for closure, you're looking for that person to admit what they did wrong, or admit that they actually did something wrong, or acknowledge their part in the wrongness in one sense. You're not going to get closure. If you're with a narcissist, if you're with that toxic person and they say, hey, let's meet so I can give you closure, like, no, it's a lie. Like, it doesn't happen, because that is a great way to be able to say, like, hey, let's meet. I'm going to give you closure. Boom, back in your life. And you think I'm joking, but like, people go to like meet on a date to get closure, and they're back living together in less than a month. Like, it's crazy, but it happens all the time. Narcissists will not give you closure, because at the end of the day, that closure has to come from you. And that closure has to come from the facts about the situation. And it has to come from the aspect of, how did this person demonstrate their care? How they demonstrate their love? How they demonstrate their faithfulness? How do they demonstrate their honesty? How do they demonstrate their vulnerability? Because when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you slap a label on narcissist, borderline, sociopath, psychopath, toxic in general. It doesn't matter. What matters is the actions. Because a narcissist will tell you they're not a narcissist all day long. But at the end of the day, what are their actions showing? What are their actions saying? That's what you have to focus on. That's the only way you're going to get closure with a narcissist, is acknowledging the truth. Carrie said, I created closure for myself, realized I would never get it. He keeps seeking closure from me with a side of please come back. Exactly, Carrie. That's perfect. Because that's what it is. I like it. It serves up a dish of, hey, here's closure with a side piece of please come back, because that's what they want. Carrie, excellent way to put that. Thanks. That's awesome. He only ever acknowledged it vaguely. No actual accountability. He said I was at fault too. Yep. Narcissists will always blame you. Narcissists will always blame you. It's either you, it's their work, it's their coworkers, it's their boss, it's their upbringing, it's their trauma, it's their family, it's everything else. Narcissists will always turn around and they'll always blame you. They'll always blame you. And when they can't blame you, or when you stop taking the blame, then they'll say, hey, it's not just you, it's our fault. The only thing, the difference between them saying it's your fault and saying it's our fault, is they just drop the why, but it doesn't change anything in their head. Doesn't change at all. They still blame it back on you. Tips on them blocking and unblocking on social media. Why do they do this? They do this to mess with your head. And they do this because they know that you haven't actually blocked them. So they're going to keep doing it to mess with your head, to get you eventually to respond. And a lot of times people do respond. You need to block. You can't expect them to be responsible for blocking and taking care of your healing. I got so drained, but this is real. You can't expect closure from someone who doesn't see a need to do so. Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. Guys, thank you for some of the likes. Thank you for some of the shares. Spread this, because people need to know about narcissists. People need to know. You probably have some people in your life that don't know. And you're like, wow, that relationship seems really narcissistic. Or as you're like watching and seeing like what's going on, you're like, wait a second, like they've got some traits. It's all just a game with them, like everything. Yeah. A lot of it is a game. A lot of it is just seeing how do we get past the immediate moment that is uncomfortable to a new moment that probably will be better. And then they get to the next moment and they realize they're still there with themselves. And they're like, crap, like it still sucks. Yeah, it still sucks because they're not willing to change and acknowledge anything. Do they miss any of the X's? They miss the control. They typically don't miss the X. Why they neglect their kids when you leave them, even if they have new supply? Because they don't care. I know that might like freak some people out or like make them upset, but like in reality, like kids serve a purpose for a narcissist just like you do. To serve them or make their image look better. And if they're not serving that purpose, they're not going to do much. My narc said women want to be used. Is this something you believed? No, that's not something I believe. That's something he was making up in his mind. I had my own lies in my head, but that wasn't one of them. My husband cheated on me the entire time I was pregnant and claims it was to get my attention. Now he wants me back. I'm pre-baby weight. Is that a narc or an asshole thing? I would say a lot of times that's a narcissistic thing. You'd have to have a lot of the other traits to match up to be like, oh yes, that's a narcissist. But a lot of narcissists do cheat when you get pregnant because they're not getting that attention. They're not getting whatever type of supply that they might normally get from you because you're pregnant. You know, you're sick. You're busy. There's a lot of other things going on. They'll be like, well, I'll go find it somewhere else with someone else. My abuser was a narcissist, and now I have narc traits working through the shadows. Yeah, you're going to pick up sometimes, a lot of times we call it like narcissistic fleas. You're going to pick up little things that's like, hey, this seems like narcissistic, or like I didn't lie before, but now I lie, you know? And some of that is just getting through the trauma, just as figuring out like, hey, I need to be able to survive this. And if I'm going to survive this, I got to be able to adapt to a couple things. The difference is the intent. So if you're through it, then focus on your healing, focus on your growth. That takes that time, takes that honesty, vulnerability, but it's worth it. My kid's dad uses his child to still try and control me. He starts sharing a location with my son so he can do my whereabouts. Yeah, if you're like 50-50, or if they have them, you know, when they're with you, like unless your son's saying that's what they want to do, otherwise, like I don't see why they should have that. But I see where you're going there. My husband, 85 years old. Mom is a narc. What effect does narcissist parent have on a child? My husband is 58. Just realized that narcissistic parent has a huge effect. A lot of times it'll turn people into narcissists. It'll develop them, damage empath. Like, you know, whichever direction we're going to go with that. What makes a person become a narcissist? Why would you want to do that? So typically, what makes a person become a narcissist is trauma, abuse, overbearing parents, over enabling parents. Narcs are psychopaths. So there's narcissists, there's sociopaths, and there's psychopaths. A psychopath is going to be narcissistic. So in that regard, that part is accurate. But all narcs are not psychopaths. There's like a scale. Do you still have all the narcissistic thoughts and feelings? I would say yes. Like I still have those. It's working on changing that mindset, changing that thought process. Do the narcissistic traits that we pick up go away? Yes, they do. But that's with you focusing on your growth, on your healing. But you can change that. Because if you're willing to be honest and vulnerable of like, hey, this is something that I'm exemplifying, you can work on changing it. That's the difference. That's the difference between you and the narcissist is you can actually say, hey, I can be vulnerable and say, this is where I am. The narcissist isn't willing to do that because the narcissist isn't willing to say, hey, this is where I am. Because if I acknowledge where I am, then I'm going to acknowledge like, hey, I hurt that person. I destroyed that marriage. I hurt that life. I ruined that job. I killed that relationship. And like, that's what's going to happen when a narcissist is actually vulnerable. They don't want to be vulnerable because that exposes all the guilt, all the shame that they're trying to push down, compartmentalize, and hide. Do narcs spy on you after the discard, and how to protect yourself digitally, as this was long distance relationship in different countries and we've never met. His deceased parents' bank called me. Interesting. Yeah, no, they definitely do stalk. So, you know, you might have to put your profile private. You might have to go off social media for a period of time. You might have to make a new account. You might have to block like crazy. My mom was a narcissist, so I chose a narc to marry. It took me a while to see it. His mom was a narc too. Yeah, no, absolutely. So I did a video the other day. It was like, 5 types of people that narcissists attract, and the 5th one is, you know, people that had narcissistic parents. Someone asks, does DBT help narcissists, DBT therapy? I would say yes to the level that they're willing or that they want to change. I would say that it does help. That's part of what I do. Like I have my therapist, I have like our talk therapy, the stuff that we're working through, like the inner child work, like you name it. Like we kind of like run through like everything, the energy work, like whatever you want, like everything. But like the DBT, like is a type of like cognitive behavioral therapy that I think helps at times too. And so like that's a lot of what I do when I work with the warrior group. So Wake Up Warrior, the Warrior Challenge is what I went through to help wake me up to like a lot of the lies that I have. So for me, it is influential, and some of DBT and some of cognitive therapy is what I use whenever I'm coaching and working with trauma abuse survivors. And like whenever I'm working, trying to help them break the trauma bond, be able to get out of that, be able to get through the detox phase and kind of work towards, okay, what are my goals, vision, values? How am I going to set boundaries up to not go back and to not get with another narcissistic person? But yeah, so I do think it's helpful, but it's only going to help. It's only going to help the people that want to be helped. Like that's the difference. Is you can put, I mean, you guys have seen it. You can put a narcissist in a therapy, but it's not going to change them unless they want to be changed. You know, you can be the most loving person and it's not going to change them. You can be the most empathetic person and it's not going to change them. They have to want it. They have to be willing to engage in the change, to engage in the shit of who they are. If they're not going to do that, nothing's going to change. What is the best thing you can say when you're accused of something that's just ridiculous by the narc? That's not true, and move on. My narc cries when they've reached out, won't say anything, but they're with the new supply. Yep. Make sure to block, keep moving on. Could a narcissist become physically violent once they realize the split is happening? Absolutely. Just saw a video of this on TikTok earlier tonight that I think Lee's probably going to do a stitch unless I grab it first. Why the anger at the discard? He's doing a lot to hurt me. He's angry about the discard. If you discarded him, then he's angry because he lost you. If he discarded you, then he's angry because there's an aspect of like rejection that had to come there. It's crazy. It's inconsistent. It doesn't really make sense, but that's like the part of it. Wow, there's a lot of questions. How can I handle the smear campaign from my ex? Should I aware by asking my friends and ask what my ex said about me, or just don't give a fuck about it? Perfect. That's exactly it. Don't give a fuck about it. Okay? I mean, when it comes down to it, like the people that know you, the people that are closest to you are going to understand. They're going to say like, hey, this is incongruent with this person's behavior. So like, we're just not going to believe it. Or we're going to come to them and say like, hey, what's actually going on? You know, and then they come to you and you say, hey, like, this is what's going on. They're like, okay, thanks for letting me know, you know, we can still be friends. Or like, hey, I'm glad I came and talked to you. Like, if they don't do that, or if they don't want to do that, then they're not friends. Then like, they shouldn't even be in your life. Don't worry about the smear campaign, because the smear campaign, the more you try to defend yourself against the smear campaign, the more you look crazy. But the more you live your life, regardless of what's going on, the more people see like, hey, like how they're living is actually completely different than what this other person is saying. So it doesn't even make sense what this other person is saying. So many times people get caught up on like, let's make sure we fix, we expose, we make sure to right the wrongs, all that kind of stuff. When it comes down to it, live your life, because they're going to be mad that you're living a life and they're no longer controlling you. I have to work on this on social media. I have to work on it on social media when I have people that come after me because I'm a narcissist on the platform. You know, why should he be on the platform? It doesn't make sense. Why should he offer coaching? Like, he should be doing everything for free. He shouldn't charge anything. Like, all this stuff. Like, he's just a narcissist getting supply. Like, all this kind of stuff of like people like attacking or trying to smear me. And you know, at first I was like, you know, let me come back. Let me say something. Let me, you know, be like, no, that's not right. All this kind of stuff. At the end of the day, like, who cares? Because I know the people that I've talked to. If you talk to me in a one-on-one, if you talk to me inside the Narc App, if you talk to me in like coaching or lives and things like that, I know who I've talked to and I know their growth. I know their change. I know the people that call me up and they're like, hey, it's been 1 month and I am not, you know, a mess. You know, I'm not crying every single day because the story you helped me rewire in my brain has changed my perspective so much. It's incredible to see. And it's awesome to see people winning and growing and changing every single day. A little tangent there. But yeah. Where we at? I want to keep my daughter's dad away from him until I get help because I do not trust him. Yeah. Narcissist is never consistent. He moved on 1 week after a 5-year relationship, is now trying to ask me to meet his new girlfriend. I think he's lost it. Why is he doing this? Then it says it's a joke. Says it's a joke because if you would be open to it, he would totally run with that. Triangulation at its finest. Maybe even once a threesome. You never know. It goes down the rabbit hole really fast. Can you talk about some of the signs that a narc will become physically abusive? I think a lot of women doubt their guts when they're in this cycle of narcissistic emotional abuse. I think part of it first is to educate yourself on the narcissistic emotional abuse, like what it actually is, because a lot of people stay in the relationships because they haven't been physically hit. And sometimes you'll have narcissists that will never even get to that place. I mean, thankfully, but not thankfully. I mean, either way, like I asked someone the other day, I was like, you feel bad for leaving them. Would you have felt bad if they hit you? They were like, no. And I was like, they did. Yeah, it was verbal. Yeah, it was mental. Yeah, it was emotional, but they did every single day. The Narc App, yeah, it's called the Narc App. So if you look up Apple or Google Play, just type in NARC, N-A-R-C, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. I think we've got almost 3,000 people that have at least logged on. And we've got people that are subscribing to be able to get in on the exclusive lives that we have every single Monday night. And also once a month, we're doing monthly Zoom calls of coaching, question and answer time, but trying to empower you moving on and growing. My narc after a year is still wearing the ring I gave her a while back. She's with a new supply. Sometimes I'll wear the ring to be able to get a sympathy story. My narcissists haven't hit, and I stayed with him for 11 years, and I finally had enough and left. Yeah, he never would hit because he knew I would out him. Did everything else but hit. Yep. How to know if he's a drug addict or just a narcissist. At that point, do you feel justified leaving a narcissist or leaving a drug addict? Like, what's the thought behind that? Because at the end of the day, if they're a drug addict and they're not willing to get help, if they're a narcissist and they're not willing to get help, it's really not the best situation there. Can you explain how a narc would treat siblings? After mom's death, the majority of my trauma is from cis. Yeah, I mean, a narcissist can turn on anybody. Bruensky, thanks so much. I was in a crazy trauma narcissistic relationship. Yeah. Do narcs have many girls at one time? Yeah, absolutely. Bruensky, thanks so much for shouting out the Narc App. Bruensky's in there. He was in the monthly live call just the other day. We got what is it? Bohemian Jess. Sorry, I'm like trying to make sure I get it right. Join the Narc App if you haven't. So good. Hey, I'm glad to see you guys on here that already know and have already been in it, because we got training, we got coaching, we got record your truth, we got no contact trackers, we got community, we got a lot of stuff that's coming on. We got other things that just released, actually. Vicky, hey, what's up? Facebook, good to see you. We got other stuff that just released in the Narc App that even has like discounts in there for people that are in the Narc App that are helping contribute to that community, to be able to have like discounts of whether it's meeting with other people, things like that. Nathan Wagner just joined. Is that Nathan Wagner as far as like the song artist? Or is that just your username? Has the little blue check, so I don't know if that's actually like you or if that's someone else. Sorry, I was a little excited to see that. If it's actually you, I think it'd be like freaking out a little bit. The name of the app is Narc, N-A-R-C. So just type in Narc, just like you're typing in narcissist. Just leave off the ist. Dude, Nathan, like seriously, Nathan Wagner, like you did you just recently came out with a single. You had you did the Narcissist, like the song Narcissist. Like, am I thinking of the right person? I'm gonna feel stupid if I'm not. Your profile looks like it. Sorry, I'm geeking out a little bit. Like, yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Okay, it is. Sorry. Geeking out moment. Everybody can just pause on all the other platforms. Sorry. Nathan, I love your music, man. Like, super excited. Did not even have a clue you followed me. So glad to be able to see you even here. But literally, I've shared your song. I think I posted on my story like once or twice. Like, he has an amazing song called Narcissist. And like, gosh, like that hits home. Like that hits home. When I hear that song, like I play that sometimes like blasting down the road because like it's so true. And your voice is awesome, man. It like rips the soul. But yeah, anyways. Dude, I'm honored. I'm honored to have you on here. Appreciate it. Love your stuff, love your music. Super cool. Yes, I am fangirling. I can't play the song because I'm using all my phones on here. It wouldn't come out. It wouldn't come out very good. So I'll tell you what. I'll put it on my Instagram story because TikTok doesn't have it the best way. Well, I think I put it on there as well one time. We'll put a bit back on there. So yeah, absolutely, man. Hey, if you're ever in concert, Virginia or neighboring states, you let me know. I'll be there. I'm serious. But yeah, no, that's super cool. Sorry. I can talk the rest of y'all now that I had that moment. Dude, absolutely. That's awesome. This song is Narcissist by Nathan Wagner. If you haven't looked him up, check him out. He's got some absolutely amazing music. Like I would say probably for a good like couple weeks, like that was like one of the songs I listened to. That one and also I don't remember the artist, but Popular Monster. Because like that like literally connects. It sucks, but it connects. It's crazy. Knew him for a couple years, never knew he had a girlfriend of 7 years. Talked to him, baby mama called him on his BS and got blocked. Is it normal to miss the constant communication? Yes. And a lot of times narcissists, they build that constant communication and then pull it back so you keep asking for more. So you keep thinking, hey, what's wrong with me? They're gonna be like, hey, there's something wrong with me because we used to be in connection like all the time. Hang on, I got you. So I actually just tried to explain this to someone the other day because a lot of people don't see it and don't understand what's actually going on. Hold tight, hold tight. Oh, where is it? Because really like the illustration is they end up making you produce a certain type of feeling, a certain type of thought. Oh, I'm not going to find it in a quick second. Yeah, it's normal to have that constant communication and then have them take it away. And then what happens is, and they blame you. They blame you for being needy. They blame you for being oversensitive. They blame you of being like, you know, what is your problem? Like, why are you acting this way? They'll turn it all around on you and blame you. Can't believe I'm not finding it. All right, if I find it, I will let you know. It's actually like a whole illustration. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong book. Here we go. Here we go. Found it. All right. Here we go. So talking about neediness. All right. So let's watch this. Here we go. Manufactured feelings. Manufactured emotions. Okay. So like you miss the constant communication. So I'm going to read you an example here. So this is reading from the book, Imagine, because we've been talking about it, Psychopath Free. Okay. I want you to hear this case study. Okay. It kind of blows it out of proportion a little bit so it makes sense. All right. So the boyfriend says, hi, I haven't heard from you in 3 days. Just want to make sure you're doing okay. The girlfriend, gosh, I have a life outside of you, you know. The boyfriend, I know. I was just sort of confused because I'm used to hearing from you each morning. You're so needy. I have important things to do, and I can't just drop everything to text you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sound so needy. It was the first text I've sent you in 3 days. I can't deal with this. I've never met someone so needy in my life. I'm really sorry. I won't bother you again. Girlfriend says, it's fine. I forgive you. We'll just have to work through your neediness issues. Couple things that happen here. One, she put her boyfriend in an impossible situation that would make any human being needy, especially after the constant attention and the idealization phase, and then disappears. Number two, she accused him of being needy, even though he tried to respond reasonably. And number three, played the good cop by offering to forgive him for a problem that she created in the first place. This places her in the favorite role of teacher versus student. See, a narcissist loves to be able to create a problem, have you react to it, accuse you that your reaction is out of proportion, and then forgive you for the problem that they created. The book is Psychopath Free, Psychopath Free, Psychopath Free, Psychopath Free, okay? The narcissist loves to be able to do that because then they are in control. They're controlling you. They're controlling your emotions. They're controlling your response. It's all about control. Yeah, pick it up. I need to get like a link for it. I need to put a link in my bio that way y'all can like grab it really quick. That I need to get caught up on my reading. That was supposed to be my book for April. I finished it in May because I ended up using it so much for content and talking about it so much, even on lives and in YouTube videos and stuff like that. And then the next book that I'm on right now is The Motivation Manifesto. It's not narcissistic at all, but it's powerful. Wouldn't expect anything less from Ben and Burchard. He's got some amazing stuff. Yeah, apologize for being needy when he was busy because his son was being born that I didn't know about. Do you find yourself apologizing a lot? Yes, you can get it on Amazon. The name of the book is Psychopath Free. There, we'll just hold it here for a little bit. Do they expand on control method in that chapter? They expand on a lot of things. It's a thick book. It's a thick book. Does rage occur when they have guilt? Yes, absolutely. So rage occurs. So oftentimes I use the illustration and I use the method. If I hold it up, it'll look backwards, just like the books, except on YouTube, but because I'm using the phones as well. But the rage does happen. And I have this chart. I know it's on YouTube. It's on a couple other platforms, but it's like the small video. It's only like a quick minute. The chart that I have is talking about life being normal. They hit a trigger point and then they experience guilt, drops down to shame, goes to blame, hits rage, and then they have to future fake, gaslight, and love bomb to get back up to the top. That's not just meant just for narcissists. Like that's meant for a whole plethora of people. I use it and I kind of tweak it a little bit to show how it works for narcissism because it works. It works so much. But that chart is actually something I learned through Wake Up Warrior and going through the Warrior Challenge. And it's stuff that applies to a lot of different people because a lot of people want to go through life. They hit a trigger and they feel bad about it. They feel shame about it. They're not sure what to do about it. And they try to run from it. They try to get past it. They try to get to the next place. When you try to get past something, you don't actually get the chance to be able to work through it. A lot of people, when they come and talk to me and do like one-on-ones and we sit down, they're trying to look for healing. They're just like, I want to get healed. I want to get better. I want to get back to the person I was. I want to, and they're like fast. Like they want it yesterday. But at the end of the day, the faster you run towards like the healing process, the faster you're going to heal. But when you start running away from it, when you start saying like, hey, I need to get fixed, I need to get fast, but you're unwilling to do the hard work, you're unwilling to do the work every single day of how am I going to change who I am, to be able to realize what the story is, to be able to realize what happened in that relationship, to be able to own, hey, this is who I am, this is what I need to work on to heal. And a lot of times that's changing the narrative, changing the story that's in your mind. Because you get so stuck with the idea of the fantasy and of the thing they told you they were going to be. And that's what I do on a day-to-day basis when I'm talking to people. The name of the app is called Narc, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community, NARC. It's got monthly coaching. It's got weekly lives. It's all inside the app because we want to keep it protected when people have questions that might be sensitive that they're asking. It's got community. It's got a place to record your truth. It's got a place to track your no contact. Like there's several people on here that actually have it in the chat. Thoughts on the book? Don't You Know Who I Am? I don't think I actually have that one. I think the one I have from her. Oh, just kidding. I do have it. I haven't read it. My bad. That's funny. It is on my shelf to read. We have not got to it yet, but I'll have thoughts once I actually read it. That's ironic. But I know Lee just is working through finishing up her book. Should I stay or should I go? He said that one was really good. So I mean, there's lots of really good ones, but yeah, no, absolutely. Would a violent narcissist be considered malignant? A lot of times I would say so. Don't quote me 100% on that though. Honestly, I get a little lost on some of the descriptions because you talk to different people, you look at different psychologists and different people like researching it, and like they have different descriptions for each one sometimes. So like sometimes this one matches this one. Like sometimes they get a little conflicted. How do I react when the narcissist gets pissy when can't see him? Work or exhaustion, health issues, wait for return. How do I react when they get pissy? So I mean, don't let their reaction control you. Live your life and they're going to do whatever they're going to do. My ex is nothing what he claimed to be. I'm pretty sure the whole relationship was a lie. A lot of times that's the hardest thing for people to realize and the hardest thing for people to admit. They're like, was my whole relationship a lie? It probably was. Like, that sucks. I'm not saying that to like discount your feelings or discount the things that you're thinking or looking at. But the sooner you get to that, the sooner you get to that idea of like, hey, there's a possibility that 95% of everything you experienced was a lie. And you start to learn to be able to, hey, I can accept that, and then I can start working through that. If you start accepting that and understanding it, you can start looking to heal. But if you keep holding on to the fantasy, if you keep holding on to the thought and the idea of like, wait a second, but this moment was true, this moment was right. Okay, but then what about the moment right before and right after? Like, yeah, that date was really awesome. But like, what about when he was like degrading you as you were putting on your dress, saying how like you don't really fit into that as well as you used to? What about when he's driving home and he's screaming, cussing, slamming on the brakes, and you're almost flying out of the car? What at the time of when she's parading other guys in front of your face? When she gets so mad that she walks away, goes back to the bar, and says to the person that she claimed was hitting on her and rubs it in your face. Like all of this stuff happens. All of this stuff happens. Like, you need to understand that. We all fell in love with the facade, not the real person. A lot of times people are like, I want to get back to the first person. I want to get back to that real person. That person was not real. You fell in love with a mask. Got to do the work to work through it, not get around or over. Painful to face the world, our parents, us. Yeah. Is it normal for a narc to continuously say that he's a people pleaser? Maybe not necessarily, maybe not mainstream, but yeah, I can see that. How do you know when an aware narcissist is telling the truth about wanting to change? When you see honest vulnerability and you see consistent change. If you don't see them actively changing in all aspects of their life, if you don't see them being honest, and if you don't see them being vulnerable about present day stuff. See, a narcissist can be vulnerable about the past. Oh, like this abuse that happened. Like, oh, I went through this trauma, like all this kind of stuff. But how are they being vulnerable in the present? That's really what it comes down to. How to know if the new victim is a good supply and he would leave us alone. Have you blocked them so they can't come back? How do you deal with the set of developing new relationship after trauma caused by narcissism? How do you deal with the setback of developing new relationship after trauma caused by narcissism? So I think the biggest thing is like when you're in a narcissist relationship and you get out, sometimes people think like, hey, the best solution is just to go be with someone else. Like, let me go find a good person, let me be with them. And oftentimes, like, that's going to slow down your process. Like, that's going to slow down your healing because you're not actually healing. You're just putting a Band-Aid on it. You're just kind of like shoving it to the side and being like, that'll heal later. Like think of it this way. It's like you have a broken leg and you're like, yeah, but I found a good person to walk with. Let's keep walking. you might be walking, you might be leaning on them for support, but are you actually healing? No, you're actually going to hurt yourself. So sometimes when people have been in an narcissistic relationship, you got to take a step back. The link for the Wake Up Warrior program you did. Actually, it's kind of a really cool thing. I got to talk to a guy with Wake Up Warrior today for about an hour and a half, and I actually got approved going through the process to start working with Wake Up Warrior. So actually, just before I got on live, I put the link in my bio. So if you click on my beacons link in my bio, you can actually go and you can check it out. You can see the apps and the tools and the challenges and stuff that I use on every single day basis that's working on changing my mindset. There's a trial. There's a 14-day trial in there that you can go in. You can try out for $1. Something you're interested in. It's powerful. Just the challenge alone is really. I think sometime down the road, I gotta plan it. I gotta work with it and everything. But I do want to plan a time to actually run a Wake Up Warrior challenge and offer people to go through it with me to be able to see what it does. It's crazy. It's incredible to produce results. If people aren't willing to live by that code, live by that, don't bother. Don't waste your money. Do narcs drink a lot to ease their pain? Yes. My ex told me I deserve someone better and we have different paths in life. That was my closure after 2 years. Good. Why some narcissists induce people to commit suicide? I would think that'd be closer on the sociopath or psychopath side, but I see where you come from. A lot of times they'll try to push people to control them. Sometimes that's very sadistic in how they do it. Are narcs thoughtless and inconsiderate because their attention on themselves and not you? Their biggest relationship issues gets everything related to me, appointments, functions, etc. So it is because it's all on themselves. But don't confuse that with self-love. Don't confuse it when a narcissist walks through life and they see different people, they interpret people checking them out and being jealous of them. They interpret people as being pawns that they need to do. They interpret the entitlement of saying, hey, these people work create high ego. It's that mentality of saying hey, all of these people are appliances. Think of it that way. All these people are appliances. That's what a narcissist oftentimes views people. And so the more you put out for a narcissist, well, then supposedly the better they're going to treat you. But at the end of the day, they don't care. Okay. Having trouble connecting to the Narc App? Try deleting it and re-downloading it from Google Play or Apple. They've had a couple of updates that have come out. If you can't get a hold of it, go to my website, rawmotivations.com. You can actually scroll on the Narc App tab, scroll down to the bottom, and you can actually set up an account and access it through the web. That might be able to help jumpstart it. When I confront mine, he calls me a hypocrite. I've heard that all day today because I asked him to stop. A lot of times they're going to flip it around on you. They're going to project it back on you. What do I do? Leave. Oh, okay, yeah, it's the same person. Okay. If they're not showing change, if they're not showing growth, if they're not showing that they actually care about you, then what other option is there? How long do you want to stay in a relationship that doesn't value you, doesn't care about you, and is willing to run over you every single day? Should I get a restraining order? He comes to my house every day. It's been a week since we broke up. If you need to, yeah, I'd go with that. Mine never did triangulation. Is that because we never got to that phase? Maybe. View narcissism as being idealization, devaluation, discard. Triangulation would just be an add-on. Okay, it'd just be like a type. It's not going to be in every single relationship. I have a feeling my narc is cheating, but no proof. I would say check your phone records, check what he's actually doing. He or she, whoever it is. Okay, sorry. Leaving is ultra hard. Sometimes you start to blame yourself and get so anxious. Yeah, a lot of times people blame themselves. And a lot of times you blame yourself because that's what the narcissist taught you to do. To not think for yourself. To not question what they're doing. Like, don't question my actions. Hear my words. Like, that's what the narcissist is trying to get you to believe every single time. Flirt with others, intentionally disrespect you, or just super playful, social, and oblivious. No, they're not oblivious. That's triangulation. Hoovering, if they don't think about us, what causes the hoover? So there's a difference between thinking and caring. Don't put those two together. You can't say thinking equals caring. It doesn't. If they think about you, they might be coming back and being like, hey, let me get back with them because they're the one that pushed me out. Let me get back with them so I can break up with them. It happens all the time. He always tells me about other women that are better than me and I should be happy to have him. That's triangulation. That's abuse. Set a hard boundary. Get out of there. If he said I made him want to change, do I believe him or is he just hoovering? Don't believe words. Believe actions. Is he getting into therapy? Is the therapy helping? Is he engaging in therapy? Is it actually working? Like, is he actually putting forth the effort? Is he being honest? Is he being vulnerable? Is he putting in change? Is he giving you a plan and showing you how his change is? Like, is the narcissist coming up to you and saying, like, hey, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be vulnerable, and then is he demonstrating that? And then is he saying, like, hey, this is the point of how I want to change, and then is he scripting that out? And then are we tracking it? Okay, like this week you cussed me out, 5 times. This week you cussed me out 2 times. Okay, I would view that as progress. Like, you could set that on a plethora of things, but like you have to be able to assess, like, is the actions actually changing? Is the behavior actually changing? If it's not, then we're just holding on to a fantasy. Never needed boundaries before, trying to learn what my boundaries are. A lot of people don't realize that boundaries are helpful in all relationships, not just toxic ones. And boundaries are very key in good relationships and in bad relationships because a boundary is not for the narcissist. The boundaries are not for the toxic person. Okay? The boundaries are for you. Because a boundary is saying, hey, here's my line in the sand. This is how much shit I'm going to tolerate before it's toxic, or this is how much I'm going to tolerate. After that, that's my boundary. Like, here's my boundary. If you cross my boundary, that is totally fine. I don't mind if you cross my boundary, but just know that means I'm no longer going to be in your life. And that is not my decision. That is your decision because I made a boundary and I said, hey, this is the consequence if you cross this boundary. You cross that boundary knowing the consequence. So as a result, I'm no longer there because it was your choice. Narcissists will hate that because they never want it to be their choice. They want it to be you that walks away. They want it to be you that breaks up with them. That way they have something that says, oh, boundaries feel very aggressive. Okay. Working through developing self-respect, self-esteem is going to feel awkward. It's going to feel different. It's going to feel out of the norm because you've been groomed for a while to not feel that way, to not acknowledge that. And those boundaries are going to feel aggressive because you're setting something that you haven't set before. So it's 100% understandable that it's going to feel aggressive. But they're necessary. They're needed for your growth, for your development, for your safety. Think of it, if you don't have boundaries, how much are you losing? If you don't have boundaries in business, you can just give away everything for free. Okay, and at that point, what is that lack of boundary costing you? If you don't have boundaries in a relationship, what is that lack of boundaries ultimately costing you? Because at the end of the day, it's not aggressive, it's protective, but it might feel that way. I understand that. Hopefully you can hear that and understand where I'm trying to come there, to try to be able to help you with that. Okay. My ex saw boundaries as a list of rules to follow, didn't even grasp the concept of my boundary, and he hated the rules. Absolutely. So some of you are kind of wondering along the lines of like, hey, are they changing or not? How do I know if they're changing or not? Like, what do I do? Do I stay? Do I go? All that kind of stuff. So let's talk about boundaries. Okay. Let's talk about boundaries / goals. Okay. And I want you to think of it this way. And talking about the narcissist, if you lay out everything you want, it's more than often that a lot of times they will perform to that list. They will check all the boxes and they'll be like, see, you shouldn't be complaining about me abusing you because I did everything you said. Okay, but they're still acting the same way. So let's talk through boundaries. Boundaries / goals. If you want to see if they're changing in the relationship, if you want to see if that change is going to continue to go, we need to set goals / boundaries. And what I'm talking about is you come up with 6. Come up with 6 boundaries / goals. And those 6 boundaries / goals, they have to be quantifiable. Think of them as like SMART goals. You have to be able to say, hey, this has to happen in a certain amount of time. And it has to be quantifiable. Yes or no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like it has to be something you can track and be quantifiable, and you have it all set. You have the date set, you have the idea set, you have the goal set, goal / boundary. You set 6 of these. Now, this is the part I want everybody to listen up and hear. You set 6 boundaries. You write them down. You internalize them. You make sure that they don't see them anywhere. You set these 6 boundaries. You communicate 2. Okay? You set 6 boundaries / goals, quantifiable, time-sensitive goals. You set 6 of those in your mind, and you communicate 2. The other 4 boundaries / goals you will take to your deathbed. I'm serious. Like the other 4 you will never tell, ever. Because what you want to see is hey, are you willing to meet those first 2 boundaries? Okay, check, hit those 2 boundaries. Is there any change? Is there any continual growth? There's not? Okay. The other 4 goals / boundaries aren't being met because you're not continuing that forward progression. If they're not continuing that forward progression, all they were doing is checking off a box to be able to manipulate and keep you there longer. That's why when you set boundaries and goals, set 6, communicate 2. The other 4, you never communicate, ever. Because those boundaries are yours. Those boundaries are how much you're going to tolerate and you're going to deal with. Some people ask me if I know all of my boundaries for my wife. I don't. She's told me she has some. I don't know what they all are. But I know this: consistent growth, consistent change, and honesty. That's where I'm going. Whether she's here or not, I know that that's the growth that I have to go. Because I acknowledge my past. I know what's happened. Do I like that? Do I want to acknowledge that most of the time? No. But I have to keep that there. I have to keep the past fairly close to myself so I can remember what it is, so I don't want to go back to that. I feel so damaged, like I'm never going to be normal again. I can't even breathe properly. Trust me, there's a lot of people in all these chats that feel the same exact way. But I want to say the amazing thing about that is there's also a lot of people in these chats that used to feel that way. It will get better. How should you put into a narcissist? As much work as they're willing to put into themselves. What made you realize you were a narcissist? So I didn't have a rock bottom. I didn't have a light bulb click on. A lot of times I call it more of a dimmer switch. It slowly came on. And it came through a plethora of different things. Originally with personality, quizzes, questions. So DISC personality, Myers-Briggs, 16 personalities, Enneagram. It's probably my favorite right now. Yeah, learning that I was like different on all different aspects, all different ways, and seeing and starting to notice like, hey, there's a cycle. Like there's a cycle that I'm doing in my mind. There's a cycle I'm doing with relationships. Like, and I'm stuck in the cycle. And I kept getting to the place of like, why? Like I got to the place after the third time that I'd stepped out on my wife and had an affair, I got to a place where I was like, maybe this is just my life. Like maybe I'm just cursed because I can't fix it. I don't understand what's going on. And I was just getting like pissed because I'm like, this is not getting any better. Like this is just happening over and over and over again, and starting to realize the cycle and being like annoyed with it. Like I started getting desperate. They didn't stop the cycle. Getting desperate didn't stop the cycle. Like I didn't know how to stop it at that point. Some of the stuff that I ended up like learning and reading is like bits and pieces like along the way. One of it was reading through Brene Brown's book, Daring Greatly, and understanding like, hey, I have shame in my life. Do I understand how that affects narcissism? No, I had no clue. But I pulled out of that book like the aspect of shame. It wasn't until the third time I read the book that I even realized that it had narcissists in the book. Like I didn't even see that. I read was it Emotional Intelligence? Like started piecing together stuff about like emotions, how it's like different, how to control it, how to work on it. The other like two biggest things that I went with a group called Wake Up Warrior and did the Wake Up Warrior Challenge. It was a 30-day challenge at that time. And went through that thinking, hey, I've got lies. Like I lie to people, but like it's okay because, you know, I'm a good person. Went with the Wake Up Warrior Challenge, went through, had to get to the place where I was like, hey, these are actually the lies that I believe. I've actually done a YouTube series on them. Got the book right here that I filled out as I'm going through the challenge. The thing is, I didn't think of them as lies. I thought they were reality. I thought they were truth. So as a result, the things that I put out there was the lies of, I can do this on my own. I am a good person. I deserve happiness. God is not good enough for me. I'm committed to Kayla, my wife. I was in love with other women, and I can never win at love. Those were like the 7 that I found as I dived into that challenge and went through it. The other thing that helped me wake up in another aspect was the idea that I got with another girl. It's the 4th relationship. I got with another girl that had BPD and narcissistic traits. And I started to see the same things that I was doing on a day-to-day basis, the same phrases, the same thoughts, the same ways to be able to manipulate people. I saw that being used on other people, and I saw that being used on myself. And I started connecting. At like one moment of like clarity where I asked my wife, I was like, I don't know what the heck's wrong with me. I don't relate. I don't care. I don't understand. I was like, maybe I'm just a sociopath. She was like, let's look it up. Looked it up, and she was like, no, I think you're more of a narcissist. I was like, what? Looked it up, and I was like, that's not me. Took the test. It like scored like super high on being a narcissist. I was like, no, that's not right. Went out and told other people, told other supplies. I was like, hey, make sure I go back to tell my wife that I'm not a narcissist. It's like gaslighting, using flying monkeys at that point. But at the end of the day, it was there. It was still there because I knew there's the cycle. I knew there's the thing that keeps happening over and over and over again, and it doesn't get any better. And understanding even from the Wake Up Warrior stuff, that one of the main things, how to be a man, how to work through life, is 1, stop fucking lying. And 2, understanding that no one is coming to save you. And me understanding that, like, hey, this is on me. This is on me to figure out this shit. This is on me to get out of this. So eventually, after a while, I ended up going to EMDR therapy. Did that for a period of a couple months. Shopped around for a couple of the therapists. Couldn't find one for a period of time. Ended up getting with the therapist I'm with now. Been with her for 15 months every single week. And it's a process. It's a process. Some people ask, like, hey, is like self-awareness like better? I was like, honestly, there's a lot of times self-awareness sucks. Because you have an idea of the shit that's actually inside. And trying to work through that on a day-to-day basis, trying to work through that on like the past, that sucks. I did a couple of videos a while back on YouTube called How the Narcissists Groom Their Victims. And I was actually reading through the book Psychopath Free, once again, and read through that section. I was like, I need to make some videos on that. But by the time I read that section, I had to put down the book, and I didn't come back to it for about a week or so because reading that was so hard to be able to acknowledge that that was me. because I didn't want to admit it. Chris H, there was like a quick online test that I took one time just to be able to see. I think it's a decent one. Minddiagnostic.org has some ones for like narcissist, BPD. They don't have one necessarily from the other person's perspective. That's something I'm actually working on developing to put into the Narc App. Not to diagnose people, so nobody come after me, but to just be like, hey, like, are they exhibiting these traits? Okay, like here's a aspect that they might be closer on that level. Honestly, I'm really excited about the stuff with Wake Up Warrior. I just got off the phone earlier this morning talking with them about being able to partner with them more and actually being able to actually run the challenge, like run an aspect of the challenge where I'd be able to have people get in the challenge with me and actually do weekly calls with everybody inside the challenge to try to help people. That thing is, I think it'd change anybody's life. It's freaking amazing. My narc constantly talks about how empathetic he is, and he reads about self-awareness and studies psychology. He diagnoses so many people in his life with mental illnesses. Interesting. Can I do a video about different types of narcissists? I need to sometime. I've been kind of avoiding it because there's so many different definitions out there. Honestly, what I'll probably do is I'll probably just go over and touch base with some of the stuff in Dr. Ramani's book. Would I recommend Wake Up Warrior for narc abuse survivors? Heck yeah. I would recommend it for anybody. Like, as I'm trying to work on it, like, it's going to be something that I really want to do, like, run a whole challenge with survivors to help them gain back their power and gain back the aspect of life that's just unleash the amazingness. Because it really is incredible. Just download the Narc App. Thanks so much. Check it out. The Narc App is awesome. We've got a lot of people. We've got people in the comments that have it too. But the Narc App is pretty cool. You got places to record your truth, track your no contact, engage with the community. We've got weekly lives that are there Monday nights that are inside the app to try to be able to protect your privacy. Try to be able to protect asking some of those tough questions. We've got monthly coachings. We got discounted coachings on there as well. Like, there's a lot of different stuff. How different are NPD and BPD? My ex had toxic tendencies with both, but not everything. End of the day, the biggest thing that matters is their behavior and their actions, not the diagnosis. But with NPD and BPD, a lot of times you'll see some of the differences be kind of like mainstream ideas. BPD feels a lot more and has extreme empathy at times. BPD oftentimes will have some self-harm or I can't think of the right word. Self-harm. Let's go with that. And also like suicidal thoughts or tendencies, or using it as like a threat. You don't have that as much in the narcissistic aspect. I'm in the middle of divorce and I blocked him and go no contact, and he's angry and leaving me nasty messages. If you need to, go like the legal route and make the communication go through a third-party app, or make it go through like the lawyers and attorneys. They're going to get mad because you took away their control. I think many narcissists would deny their mistakes even if they were shown proof. 100%. 100%. So I had a person I was talking on a one-on-one, and the narcissist, so quick story, they were in the kitchen. The narcissist said something in the middle of an argument. She said, hey, this is what you just said. He was like, no, I didn't. She pulled up the cameras that they had in the kitchen, pulled up the iPad, played it back to him. He said it. He was like, no, I didn't say that. She's like, so you're like saying like this is lying? Like what? And he's like, I don't know, but that wasn't me. Like, I didn't say that. So much to the place that she thought that he might actually be right. So she had to take it to friends and family, play it, and actually be like, what is he saying? And they were like, he's saying that. But yeah, they'll deny everything. Even if they know they're wrong, it doesn't matter. Knowing you're wrong and admitting you're wrong are two different things. They won't admit it. Why they go silent instead of talking things out. Some of it is a response to either previous trauma, and some of it is a response to make you doubt yourself and end up making you reach out to them and apologizing to them for something you didn't do. It's aspect of control. Do narcissists use their friends to spy on you on your social media? Do they create fake profiles to spy themselves? 100%. 100%. Because they might have to take accountability and they can't do that. Yeah, absolutely. How do we feel about reaching out to the mom about the terrible things they did? They hate exposure. Probably not going to get anywhere. If you're talking about like the other person's mom or your mom, they lie with such conviction, even if it makes no sense. Yeah, that's that compartmentalization. It only makes sense in my mind. Story is way too familiar. You deny, deny, deny. Yep. Why would a narc keep having wedlock children? Supply. Have other people that needs him. Watching mental healers brought me to another great. Glad you're here. Do narcissists? No, I read that one. Oops. Okay. Where are we at? How often would you claim your friend did something when it's you? Friend did something when it's you. Not sure. Are you talking about like blame shifting? Not sure what you're asking there. Sorry. Yes, my narc had his friend checking my Facebook, then got mad because I blocked the friend. That's awesome. Block those flying monkeys. They don't deserve to peek. They're just as toxic as the other person. Would you say blocking completely gets them to forget about you or makes them more obsessive? They might get obsessive either way. The biggest thing is blocking helps you. It doesn't really matter what's going on their side. They've sacrificed their chance to be with you because of their actions and because of them not believing, understanding, or acknowledging your boundaries. I can't say one way or another because I've seen it both ways. I've seen no contact and they finally move on. I've seen no contact and they get more obsessed. Why would a narc say you're toxic but never block and delete you? Because they still want that control. They still want to be able to interact with you if they need to. I meant would claim your friend did something when it was actually you doing it, cheating, etc. Yeah, absolutely. Blame shifting, projecting on someone else. Yeah. Like for me, it was like, let me start something or let me instigate something. Let me get someone else to do it. Is there any hope for them? Mine didn't seem like he was always that way, something he became. A lot of times it's not something he became, it's something he revealed. There's a little bit of a difference. And yeah, there's hope. The hope for them is that they're vulnerable, honest, and have consistent change. The problem is they're unwilling to do that. So as a result, I'm not giving hope to people on here on this platform because otherwise they hear that one phrase, there's hope, and that's all they'll latch onto. And you'll have people that stay in an abusive relationship longer than what they should because they're thinking, wow, there's hope. No, the only thing you can look at is their actions and their behaviors. If you don't see it, it's not happening. If they don't demonstrate it, it's not happening. Why is he treating everyone else 1,000 times better than me, even strangers? That's the image. You're the person who sees below the mask, so he doesn't care if he treats you like crap. Typically to be highly sensitive, he's super easily offended, even though he will do the exact same thing to others, doesn't text back probably. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Highly sensitive, like takes everything critical as like a personal attack. Absolutely. It's granted a final PFA today, and I'm excited to see more. Yeah, glad to have you here. What does it take to finally leave a narcissist? It's either an exit plan or the truth. And not them admitting the truth. It's you acknowledging the truth. There's a difference. I was so afraid of saying the wrong thing that if anyone seemed upset with what I said I didn't say that. Things like this make you feel like the narc. Yeah, a lot of times you have like that fear because you don't know how people are going to react. Process of getting free, yeah. Don't stay, wasted 14 years. I'd hoped for 35 years, now I'm done. How do I get rid of the feeling that I wasn't good enough and that's why he discarded me? See, the thing with that is you're thinking that it had something to do with you. In reality, it doesn't. The narcissist, whether they're with you or whether they're not with you, has nothing to do with you or your worth or how good or bad you are. All it has to do is with what they want, how bored they are, what they're looking to get out of another person. And when that other person is no longer willing to pay the price of rolling over and being their slave, that's when a lot of times they say, like, hey, this isn't working out. They make you feel like you're not good enough. You see, most of the time when we talk about people's worth and we talk about, was I good enough or was I not good enough, people don't understand that that's the narcissist perspective. They don't look at people saying like, hey, this person's good, this person's bad. They look at this person being like, hey, this person's a toaster, this person's a blender. These people are here meant to serve me. That's the narcissist thought. That's the mindset. In one sense, it's going on behind the scenes. That entitlement piece. He says, what happens is you have a diamond. It's polished, it's fancy, it's nice. You hand it to one person and they put it inside a glass cage and they show it off to people and they show the world of how amazing that is. You give it to another person, they take it, they throw it down the mud because they don't realize the value that it actually has. The thing is, the diamond never changed its value. The person valuing it did. So when you think for a period of time like, hey, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe my worth is impacted by this other person, think through, it's not changing your internal worth. It's not changing who you actually are. What's changing is how that person is treating and valuing you and demonstrating that on a day-to-day basis. And you have narcissists that come into your lives and they don't value that. They throw you in the mud. They roll over you. They stomp on you. And then they're unwilling to acknowledge that they've done that. And then they make you feel crazy in the process. They can hide your worth. They can maybe wound your worth slightly, but they can't take your worth. In reality, it's not you that's not good enough. It's the narcissist that's not good enough to put in any time, any effort into changing themselves. For you, for anyone. The thing is, if you met their standards, the standards would move. Think of it this way. The narcissist always wants, let's say, perfection. The narcissist wants you to get to a certain level of perfection of like, hey, if you can get up here, then everything will be okay. If you can get up here, you'll be good enough. If you'll be up here, this marriage, this relationship will be perfect. It'll be fine. Everything will be fixed. If you can get up here, let's say hypothetically that you actually attain that. Okay. The thing is, you never will, because as you get up here, it's always moving. You're never going to actually get to their goal because the goalpost is always moving. But let's say for illustration purposes, hypothetically, here's the goal. Here's the bar. The narcissist says, hey, you're going to be perfect when you get here. Let's say you actually get to that in their mind and you're perfect here. You know what's going to happen? They're going to realize they're the problem. They're going to realize that they are actually the problem in the relationship, and that is something they're not willing to acknowledge. So then it's time to move that goalpost. Then it's time to move the next part and say, hey, you're actually not good enough in these areas. Someone said, I used to say all the time, I can't win with you. Yeah. You're not going to win with a narcissist. You're not going to win in a debate. You're not going to win in everything else because the rules of logic don't go the same way for a narcissist. They'll deny what they say. They'll deny like what's true. They'll deny with the proof right in front of their face. Take back what you're worth. Your worth is there. You might need to dust off the mud, clean up a little bit, work on yourself. But they didn't steal it. It's there. Feels like it. Don't let them have that power. when working with people on one-on-one, my main goal is to try to help them as they get out of that traumatic relationship, get out of the trauma bond, is the idea of acknowledging and taking back your power. Taking back control of the situation where you're no longer going along with what the narcissist said. You're no longer believing the things that they said to you, and then they demonstrate the opposite. You're no longer seeing the cognitive dissonance of saying like, hey, I love you, but my actions show you that I hate you. And we start to look at how they demonstrate and what happens every single day. That demonstration is key. If you guys want to talk sometime one-on-one, that's what I do every single day. Go to rawmotivations.com. It gives you a little idea of what we do. Gives you a little idea of like some of the coaching, some of the stuff that goes on there. But the goal is to break people free from the trauma bond, to get them detoxed from the narcissist, and then give them the tools to continue moving forward in their success, setting boundaries, not going back, and not getting with someone else that's toxic. You can get with someone else, but just make sure you heal first, okay? Ran after 2 years. I was on a date. He was working minimum wage security. Did it hurt his ego? Maybe a little bit. If you're no contact, stay no contact. When you guys see the narcissist, ignore them. Walk by, move on, run away. I had someone the other day that was giving the idea and the thought of like, if they ran away from their narcissist, like after their no contact, like if they actually went no contact, that they felt like that was weak. I was like, no. I was like, that's strong, because you're setting a boundary and you're not willing to cross that. Like in my own story, in my own regard. So like here, I guess, period of transparency, okay? Like where we live, the girl with BPD and narcissistic traits lives in the same town. She's across the way. So there's like an area of town. We just say like, we don't go over there. Earlier the other day, we had to go and we had to actually pick something up on that side of town. And we were like, we're going into like enemy territory. Like we don't go that way. We don't go into that area of town. When we go into stores, I'm walking through the parking lot. I'm checking out the cars to make sure I don't see her car. If I got into a store and I turned around and I saw her like walking a certain way, I would bolt out the door. And people are like, okay, well, that seems like weak. Like she's still controlling you. No, I'm protecting myself. And the thing is, sometimes people are so worried about going no contact. The thing is, it is protection for you, for your growth. You need to stop looking at his Instagram. Yeah, you do. Because as you look at his Instagram, it's going to keep pulling off the Band-Aid. It's not going to let you heal. You make it sound so simple just to run away. It's not simple to run away. When I confessed everything with a girl with BPD and narcissistic traits, and people knew about it, my wife knew about it, her sister knew about it, like people knew about it, she was still in my life for another 10 months. Not romantically, but like still engaged in work, in friend groups, at the house, like with everybody here, like it was still happening. Like it was messed up shit. Like when I think about it, like I can't even think about it a ton, because it's like it got so bad that I don't even realize how bad it got. Like it was like messed up. And I didn't want to leave because I didn't want to change the story that was in my mind. I didn't want to admit the reality of who that person was. I want to say, no, we can make this work. No, they didn't mean it. They didn't mean it when they made out with me and then they went out and slept with someone else. Like it wasn't that big a deal. They were thinking of me. Like, no. And I had to acknowledge it. But having other people tell me, having like someone in her family tell me, having my wife tell me, having other friends tell me like, hey, this person's toxic. Like you need to cut it off. Nothing changed until it changed in my head. And that's the same thing for you. The same thing for everybody that I talk through is it won't change until we take it and we actually rewire your mind with the story that's actually based on the truth. Otherwise, you will stay believing a fantasy and you won't even know it's a fantasy. The faster you block them and go no contact, the faster your healing begins in self-respect. Has anybody heard about the buffaloes and the cows? Anybody heard that illustration? I talked about it. I think I've talked about it on live once. See out west, whenever there's storms that come over the plains, and the storm comes, the cows and the buffalo have two different responses. The cows, when they get scared, they actually run away from it. They run away from the thing that's scaring them. The buffalo, when they're scared, they actually run towards the thing that's making them scared. So the moral of the story is, don't scare buffalo, it might charge at you, okay? But the thing you have to think of is, let's say that storm is coming. Storm is coming this direction. The cow's standing here. Cow gets scared of the storm. The cow's going to start running away from the storm. The storm's still going. It's in the storm for a longer period of time. That storm's here. The buffalo sees it. The buffalo's scared about it. The buffalo will run towards the thing that they're scared of. When they run towards the thing they're scared of, they minimize the time that they're actually in the storm. This is what happens with people when they come and they try to get healing and they want the healing fast. They try to be the cow that runs away from the healing because they want to go past it. They want to go around it. They want to do anything but go through it. The narcissist won't go through it. The narcissist won't acknowledge it. When you want healing, you got to go through it, and it sucks. But the thing is, the more you double down and go through it, the more it sucks, the more it will heal. It's like putting like peroxide on like a wound and it burns like crap. But it's a lot faster than trying to pick it out with tweezers. A lot of times people want healing and they want it fast, but they're unwilling to put in the work. That's why I see people that don't stick with it when they have like homework from like one-on-ones. You don't see people that stick with it when they get into the warrior group with the Wake Up Warrior Challenge, or they pan out because, you know, they don't want to spend the money to invest in themselves, or they pan out because they don't want to actually be real or be raw with who they actually are, what they're actually believing. The trauma is painful, but there's no going around it and getting substantial healing. If you had proof to expose the narc, should you? The majority of the time when you have proof to expose the narc, it's going to blow back up in your face. And at the end of the day, unless you're trying to fight a legal case, how's it going to help you grow and change? How can you tell if a self-aware NPD is truly changing? Honest vulnerability, consistent change. Are they in therapy? Is it helping? Are they actually working? Are they changing? Are they being vulnerable in the moment versus the past? It's not fair. They can and they are able to run away from the consequences and the pain. They don't run away from the addiction, and they don't run away from being slaves to their own impulses and compulsions. And that's the difference where you can be free. I hear you. It sucks. Like, they don't get karma. Like, why don't they get thrown in jail? Why don't they get hurt? Why don't they have the pain? I get it. At the end of the day, who's the slave? They are. Just had a video on this the other day. Narcissists are slaves to their compulsion and their impulses. The difference is you have the freedom to make a different choice. You have the responsibility to make a different choice by being aware and being able to say, hey, I can be honest, I can be vulnerable with who I am, and I can change myself. Do the work. It sucks. Be the buffalo. Go through the pain. There's healing on the other side. Have to see my ex at a wedding. Best way to show him he no longer has me as supply. Ignore totally or say hi and act unbothered. Me personally, it would be along the lines of saying ignoring completely. There's a certain person in my life, and maybe this is the wrong way to do it, but this is coming from a narcissist perspective, okay? So think of it this way. There's a certain person in my life, a former boss that I believe might have had narcissistic tendencies. I don't really care. They were toxic, and they weren't truthful. If I ever see them in public, I'm going to look through them, and I'm going to keep walking. Because I know for them, not acknowledging their presence will be more hurtful than me, like, being fake. But I'm done with the lies. I don't want that fake person in my life. I'm past the pain. I just need to keep moving forward, getting back to me. Keep working on that. Keep working on getting back to you. Don't just worry about getting back. Don't go back to what you were before. The person you were before was unenlightened. The person you were before didn't know, didn't understand. Who are you going to be next? How are you going to transcend who you have been to learn what you've gone through to get to the place where you have more knowledge, more power, more understanding to be the best person you can possibly be? Yes, 99% of the time, narcissists won't change because they're unwilling to acknowledge guilt and the shame and do the work. A while back when I was doing the one section on narcissists groom their victims, and I had to actually sit with the fact that that was me. And I had to sit in therapy, and I actually talked to my therapist, and I was like, I don't know, the hardest, like this has been like one of the hardest weeks that I've ever had to go through. Like this a couple weeks ago, or like a month ago or something, but it's been like one of the hardest times that I've had to go through is to be able to sit here and try to figure out and try to think, am I the man or am I the monster? And she looked at me in that moment, and she looked at me straight in the face, and she was like, maybe you're both. I was like, what? I was like, that's not helpful. She's like, maybe you're both. Maybe you are the person that through the system that you've been brought up in, through the way that you've developed, through the way that you've been in every aspect of your life, you've been that monster. But then what are you going to do different now? And she said, most people sitting in this office, even considering that thought, would have already run out the door. So what are you going to do about it? Anyway, I can open his eyes. So the thing is, a lot of times when people show people that they're narcissists or they show people profiles, they'll end up using that to be able to further gaslight and abuse their victims. A lot of times they'll look at it, they'll learn about narcissism, and then they'll flip it back on you. So if you show them stuff about narcissism, make sure you're grounded in who you are. Make sure you're grounded in your boundaries, because all hell might break down on you, making you think that you're the person that's toxic. Narcs don't run, they create the drama for entertainment. Narcissists are the chaos. A lot of times people are like, why would the narcissist stay? Like, this whole relationship is just chaos. Like, why in the world would they even stay in this whole thing? The narcissist often stays in the relationship, even though it's filled with chaos, because they are the chaos. Think of a tornado. If you stand in the exact center of the tornado, it's been known that it's actually like silent, or it's not chaotic, it's not destructive, because in the center, everything's spinning around. That's what a narcissist is in a relationship. In the middle, standing there, while everything around is destroying. Everything around, they're destroying, breaking apart. But in the middle of it, they don't feel the chaos. It feels comforting, because they're the one controlling it. My narc would always complain that it was me, but he's the one who would always hoover me back. Are all narcissists physically abusive? No, they're not all physically abusive, but they are abusive. Isn't there some value in showing people how to heal narcissists? I'm not showing people how to heal narcissists because honestly, you can't. You as another person cannot heal another person. You as another person cannot make another person aware. You as another person cannot change another person. That's the thing that everybody needs to understand. Like, no amount of love is going to fix them. No amount of care is going to fix them. No amount of vulnerability is going to fix them, because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And the problem is people think they can do anything and everything. They can change everything about themselves to get to the place where they can change another person. The thing is, you will lose yourself trying to change somebody who never cared to change themselves. Do narcissists believe in God? Narcissists, true narcissists at the core, think that they are God. So no. And if you have a narcissist that believes in God, or if you have a narcissist that says they're a Christian, if you have an abuser that says they're a Christian, let me tell you right now, they're not. They're just an abuser. Don't let Christianity, churches, and everything else get in the way of acknowledging the truth of who a person is. Currently getting the silent treatment. Only thing is time is walking away. I feel nothing for him. Yeah. Why they need so much control? What's behind that? Minimizing the guilt, minimizing the shame of what they are, who they are. But if they want to change, then you can be of help to them, right? So let me tell you something. Out of everybody that I talk to on one-on-ones, 95% of the people that I talk to are narcissist abuse survivors. 5% of the people that I talk to are narcissists. I would say 0.5% of that 5% actually come back. I've had one-on-ones with narcissists that I've called them out. I've had one-on-ones on narcissists that I've ended the call early. I've had one-on-ones with narcissists. I'm like, dude, like, it's not going to help anything. Like, you're just going to screw up the next relationship because you're acting like a little kid. You're taking your toys and you're going because you don't feel like you're getting what you need from your wife. When in reality, like, what you need is a wake-up call, because nothing's going to change. You're going to go into the next relationship and you're going to screw that one up too, because the thing that's not changing is you. Not gonna lie, probably like the most I've ever cussed in a one-on-one was when I was doing a one-on-one in couples. I was meeting with a couple and I actively saw like the husband gaslighting the wife in front of me. I was just pissed. I was pissed because I see the behavior that I have done. And I see the behavior that's a tendency there if I go back to it. I do meet with couples. It's not very often. Normally because they can't get both people on the same page, or normally because like the narcissist will show up and be like, oh yeah, I want to change. Like, I'm so excited about this. This is all about it. And like the other person's like sitting there like, who is this? I'm just like, dude, like it's written all over your face. Like, out of the 95% people that I see that are narcissist abuse survivors, I would say out of that percentage, probably from what I normally see is like 80% are women. They're like 15% are men. Yeah, no, yeah, if you want to go on, you can actually go on to rawmotivations.com. That's where it has it, where you can actually schedule, we can talk. We've got like 30 and 60-minute sessions. A lot of times I'll run with people just to get a good idea of what's going on, answer some questions, try to help provide any closure that I can, as far as like saying like, hey, this is probably what they were thinking, like give you an idea. But the whole point of like working with you through one-on-one and then also like through coaching is not to focus on the narcissist the whole time. Like, yeah, we'll answer questions, we'll fix stuff, but then it's going to turn towards you and we're going to say like, hey, how are you going to work on your healing? How are you going to work on your growth? How are we going to work on acknowledging, hey, this is the story that you're believing and this is the truth. Because the truth will set you free. The problem is, what pain are you willing to go through to find what the truth actually is? Is my advice to leave them? Is that being the only way? If you don't see honest vulnerability and consistent change, then yes, my advice is to leave them. There's certain people that I work with that don't have that option, or they're working on their exit strategy, or there's other existential circumstances in the mix, and I try to partner with people best I can to try to help. But like, if I see the abuse and I see like, hey, this is what's happening, like I'm not going to tell you, hey, you need to stay in this relationship. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not trying to give hope to anybody there. Trina, yeah, reach out. I'd love to talk to you. What do you think the best exit strategy is? Best exit strategy is you making all the plans. They never have a clue. You've already laid the groundwork. You've already told them their boundaries. You've already told them what you want to see in the relationship. They refuse to give it. You walk out and ghost. More women are narcs. Did I say that? No, I said I meet out of all the people I meet with, like 80% of the narcissistic abuse survivors that I talk to are women, which would imply that more men are narcissists, which is factual in that aspect too. I have narcissistic tendencies. My partner brought it to my attention. I didn't realize it, but I've been actively working on making positive changes, and it does seem to be effective. It's going to take more than you just working on it. It's going to take like therapy. It's going to take a lot of different stuff. And it is on a spectrum. I'll give you that. I would say the majority of narcs want to also discount how much they actually have. Have you gotten any narcissists better in your coaching? It's a good question. Honestly, from the couple that I've worked with, like for a good period of time, I've seen growth in one. It's not a good statistic, I know. I'm not claiming it as I can heal them or I can fix them. I try to give them the tools, but unless they're willing to be honest about themselves, they just end up lying to me and lying to everybody else. Will you speak with someone who's already left the narc? I think I run into them all the time. Like, will I speak to the survivor that left the narc, or will I speak with the narc? I'm not sure what you're asking there. I'll speak with anybody if anybody wants to talk to me. The thing is, like, if you have a narcissist and you're like, yeah, survivors, that's who I talk to, like 95% of the time. 95% of the people I talk to are survivors. So yeah. But if it's one of those things where you're like, oh, I want my narcissist to talk to you, let me set it up. Like, don't bother. Like, don't waste my time. Like, if the narcissist isn't willing to actually, like, get off their butt and actually, like, make an appointment with me, then okay, like, that's like first step. Like, that's like, okay, that's 1 out of 1,000. I'll just keep seeing, like, if you're gonna make any more changes. Don't set it up for them. Don't baby them. Why do narcs stay with some people longer than others? What makes those relationships last longer than others? Typically, how much shit they'll take. If you're decent with the abuse, if you accept it, if you're willing to put up with it, if you don't mind the gaslighting, then they'll stay longer. My cognitive dissonance is so heavy, I can feel it in my brain. I come to Earth for maybe 2 seconds. Yeah, I totally get that. That's why I work with people to try to help them break through that cognitive dissonance. The cognitive dissonance that at its very root is the idea of, like, say I look at you, I slap you, and then I say I love you. And then I slap you, and then I say I love you. And then I slap you, and I say you love you. And then after a period of time, you start to believe either, one, that's what's associated, like that is love, or that is all I'm good for. That is all the love I'm able to get. And there's so much more than that. But being able to break down that idea, because cognitive dissonance, hope, and potential is what's going to keep you in a trauma bond. It's going to keep you in a trauma bond longer than what you're willing to be. It's going to keep you there longer than what you think you should be. It's going to keep you there when you know, hey, this is a toxic relationship, but I still feel like I still have that pull wanting to go back to them. April, yeah, absolutely. So on all the platforms, you can click the link in my bio. It's got some stuff there. You can download the Narc App. You can schedule inside that, or you can go to rawmotivations.com. All those have ways to be able to schedule. Absolutely. It's maddening being with one, but you are helping people know that they weren't imagining. Yeah, you're not imagining it. Is it like... All right, so let me ask here, because sometimes I'll do this even in like appointments. Like, who on here feels crazy right now? Like, feels crazy of like, hey, I feel crazy because of everything that I've been through. Like, I feel crazy. Like, I don't know what's right, what's wrong, what's up, what's down. I feel like I'm in a fog. Like, I feel crazy. Like, this seems crazy to me of how I'm acting, how I'm reacting, how I'm obsessing over everything. Like, there's a lot of people being like, hey, I feel crazy. Okay, I want you to hear this. You feel crazy right now with everything that's happened, with everything you've been put through. I want you to understand this. That right now, the way you're feeling, how you're feeling crazy right now in this moment is normal. Now, I'm not saying that to devalue. I'm not saying it to discount anything you're feeling. I'm saying the amount of shit that you've been through, how you're feeling right now is a normal response. Because you've been gaslit, you've been manipulated, you've been lied to. The question is now, what are you going to do about it? Because you can take back your power. You can get rid of the fog, the fear, obligation, and guilt, the fog that's crowding your life that you don't understand what's up, what's down, what's right, what's left, what's true, what's not. And you have to look at the actions. You have to be able to go in and say, hey, this is the story that I'm believing. This is the thought that goes through my head every time I get pulled back to this toxic person, and I know I shouldn't. And we have to break it down. We have to go through the feelings, through emotions, find that story, put it on trial, say, what are the facts that support or deny this thought? And let's work on having the new story. And then you implement it like freaking crazy. Normally when we work on developing the new story and we work on rewiring your mind, I say like, hey, here's like 5 different examples. I met with someone back on Easter Sunday. I met with them a month later. They didn't just implement it in 5 ways. They implemented it in like 50 ways. Like they implemented it to the T. And it was amazing because when they did that, they came back and they were like, wow, complete difference, complete change. Because they started realizing, they started taking back their power and living in truth. And the thing is, you feel crazy because you've been living in a fantasy that they put on you. You've been living in an addiction that they addicted you to them by how they talked, by how they communicated. How you're feeling right now is normal because of everything they put you through. The goal is, let's get you back to feeling normal. Let's get you healed. Let's get you happy. Let's get you healthy. Let's work on developing the tools, developing the ways for you to be able to understand, hey, this is how I find the truth. This is how I find the facts. This is how I find the truth, and the truth will set you free. I wrote everything down, everything to see how crazy it was. It was not me. It was him and the illusion he sold me. Absolutely. Very good comment there. A lot of times people have to write it down to be able to understand it. That's what we do. Break it down so that you see the facts. Someone will say like, hey, like I just feel like they were going to change for me. Like I changed so much. Like how did they change for you? They didn't change at all. Okay. They were holding on to a fantasy. I had to start secretly videoing to remind me how sick the situation and how he was. Yeah. A lot of times that's very true. A lot of times you have to go and you have to understand the truth. Because the truth is the only thing that's going to set you free. I feel disheartened more. I know he's abusive, but I feel like I won't find a happy, loving relationship. I hear that. The thing is, let's find your happiness first. And then let's see who comes alongside and helps you reach those goals and continue that life with you. But ultimately, let's find your happiness and your peace first, because that's more important. If we concentrate on the next person or on the next thing, you won't find that. You'll get shortchanged. Part of me knows no normal person would forgive what I've forgiven. It's not true. Feels that way, but it's not true, because a normal person, one, there's probably no such thing as a normal person, but a normal person put in the same context as you, put through all the same gaslighting, manipulating lies, would often do the same thing because they've been manipulated to do that. Absolutely. If you guys want to talk sometime, rawmotivations.com, or just download the Narc App. You can do all the booking through there. Narc, N-A-R-C, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. Check that out. Right now, we're really excited. We just rolled out our monthly coaching. We got the next one coming up June 20th, which is going to be a live Zoom call. with a bunch of narc survivors to answer some questions, to go through coaching, to set up our month of like, how are we going to heal? How are we going to grow? How are we going to change? So there's a period of time where you're questioning, searching, seeking, trying to figure out, trying to understand everything. And I want to give you as much information. That's why we have courses on the Narc App, all this kind of stuff. We want to educate you on what narcissism is, how to set boundaries, all these different types of things. But at the end of the day, the conversation changes. And it's no longer about them, but it's about you. How are you going to grow? How are you going to change? How are you going to walk through the pain to find the healing on the other side? Jesse, thanks so much. Borensky, thanks so much. Chris, thanks so much. Can you get the app in the UK? Yeah, you should be able to. Jade, go on to Apple or go on to Google Play. Just type in NARC. Tell you what, if you don't see it, go onto the website, rawmotivations.com, click on the app tab. You can log in, you can log into it on the web at the very least, okay? A couple options for you. Thank you all. It's been a good night. I don't know about y'all, but I like walked into this tonight, the live, not really expecting to, I don't know, not expecting to bring the fire, I guess you could say. You see, sometimes with narcissists, it was actually interesting. I was texting Lee earlier, and I was like, does this happen to you? Sometimes with narcissists, because you're always looking to the next thing. You're always like about like, what's next? How am I going to continue to move? How am I going to continue to like, what's next in one sense? Sometimes it means is like when the wins happen, they feel like empty. And like when the wins happen, they feel like they're not like good enough or whatever. So you just want to like keep going. But like for me, sometimes like the big wins end up being like discouraging. It's like super weird. It's like we can make like this giant win, but then it's almost like the purpose is like lacking like after it. Like it doesn't, it doesn't really make sense. But so like for a while now, I'd wanted to get involved with Warrior, with the Wake Up Warrior group. And oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. So random quick slug. Myself, Lee Hammock, and our wives and our kids are going to be in Virginia Beach, Virginia, June 12th, like 3 to 6 p.m. doing a meet and greet at Kova Coffee and Brewing. If you guys are in Virginia, come check it out. But anyways, sorry, I saw that and I was like, I might as well say it real quick before I forget. A lot of times like big wins come with like big lows right after. And so I've been wanting to be a part of Warrior and start to like work with Wake Up Warrior group for a long time now. Like it's been huge in my life. It's been like very transformational. And this morning I had a half-hour phone call at 6:15 that turned into an hour and a half with an amazing guy with Wake Up Warrior that's actually working with that. And I was actually able to get involved a little bit and actually start to get like some links and discounts of stuff that I can actually help more people to get into the Wake Up Warrior Challenge, to be able to use the apps. Like I've got a lot of different survivors that I've talked to one-on-one that I've showed like the apps and stuff that I use like on a day-to-day basis, like that cognitive kind of like rewiring of my mind. It's like amazing. I love it. Man, like they started being able to give like access where I could actually like start like helping get those people. I'm like so excited. It was like I guess you could say it was like a big win. It was like a big moment where I was like super excited. And then like probably about an hour or two after that, maybe like 3 hours after that, it just kind of hit. And I was just like, felt like depressed, you know, it felt like just lack of drive, lack of purpose in one sense. And so it makes it difficult. But I was glad we were all able to talk tonight and able to pull that back. The apps I use, it's an app that's actually through the Warrior Group. So it's a way that I can track my 4 aspects that I'm tracking every day. So like, how am I living in body, being, balance, and business? Am I living the Warrior's code of being real, raw, and relevant to produce results? And if I'm on track for my impossible games of what I'm doing from now until a year down the road or 18 months, how am I going to set up my quarter? Just finished last week. Just finished last week. 2-day weekend to be set up my quarter. It's like 8-day intensive. Yeah. So with the Warrior stuff, it's 4 different categories. It's body, being, balance, and business. So body, how I take care of myself physically, how I take care of myself, like what I'm eating, how I'm exercising. Body, being, so how I connect with God, how I connect with the being, the voice, whatever you want to call it. How I connect in balance, so with my relationships, with my wife, with my family, and how I impact in business, how I'm conducting business and how I'm making money to provide for my family and to create a legacy. But yeah. Wake Up Warrior is not only for men. Some of the challenge looks like it's geared towards men, but there's a lot of women in the shelter. And there's a lot of men that have gone through that their wives have come through it as well. It's absolutely incredible. Please, I mean, no disrespect, just honest and jaded question surviving this. What's your end game? Awareness, growth, healing, and change. It's really what I'm on here for. What drives some of my commitment? It's a good question. I'd say probably one of the biggest things that drives my commitment is the past. Acknowledging it and holding it tight. Not ignoring it, not shutting it down. Melody, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Y'all have been absolutely fantastic. I appreciate every one of you guys being on here tonight. Been asking some great questions. Been able to have a really good talk. Get ready to sign off. It's been 2 hours. Thank you so much for everybody who shared, liked, and stuck around for a while. If you haven't, check out the Narc App. It's in all the bios. It's on the website, rawmotivations.com, for scheduling, or you can do it through the Narc App. Makes it really easy. NARC, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. If you join, you get access to the weekly exclusive lives. You can ask questions. You don't have to worry about what other people are going to think or see you. Got the monthly coaching, got discounted on coaching, different things like that, all inside the app. Anyways, we will start signing off. Thank you all so much. Berensky, see you later, man. Thanks, man. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. YouTube, Facebook, y'all have a great night. Peace out.